Well, the show centers around Ron Perlman's character, Pernell Harris, who suffers a mental breakdown following the attempted suicide of his son. And he doesn't really decide. He discovers that he hears God, and he is now prophetic, and goes on a vengeance quest to take revenge against the events that took place that led to the attempted suicide of his son. What you can expect from a show like this, it's actually a lot of different characters. It's not just his character. His character is kind of like the pebble that's dropped in the middle of the lake, and everything else around it is the ripple effects. And that's the interesting part, is seeing everybody and how everybody's affected by one man and one man's actions. And it's exciting, and it's heartfelt, and it's actually funny at times, and it's very honest. And it's moving, sometimes good and sometimes bad, and I think people will really enjoy watching something that makes them think and challenges them on more than one level. I played Jocelyn Harris. I had a daughter-in-law for Pernell Harris, Ron Perlman's character. She's just caught in a very awkward position where a few traumatic experiences happened to her before we pick up in the pilot. And then on top of that, her husband attempted to kill himself, which is never a good place to be. And on top of that, her father-in-law has now took it upon himself to, revenge her predicament, his son's predicament, and within all that, she's having to keep the pieces of her life together and not falling apart. And that's pretty much where you see her. And to find out where she's going, you'd have to watch it.
Ron Perlman and Delany, can you talk a little bit about the experience of working with both of them?
They are spectacular. I have to say that both of them are quite possibly the nicest people. They're very... I'm trying to find the right word to describe both of them at the same time. Because they're very giving actors. They're all or nothing kind of actors. So coming to work with them is always very exciting because you don't really know how it's going to actually turn out. And that's very exciting for me. I don't like to actually know what's going to happen when I go to work. I like to have a general idea. We have the scene, it's all written out, but it's exciting. I'm sounding very repetitive, but it's true. It was exciting. I mean, and it was fun, and it felt like home with them. What people don't know about Ron Perlman is that he's a very, very funny man. I don't know if they know it about him, and so there was a lot of jokes and a lot of goofing off, and that just those little moments. They're not big. There's nothing major, but those are the moments that kind of allow for a fun breath and a laugh, and so to make the days go by and not have the scenes kind of weigh on you.
Can you talk about working with Ben and Marc behind the camera?
These are two very talented filmmakers, because I think that even though we're doing a television show, it's a lot like a film. And they complement each other very, very well. Marc is this sensitive, visual filmmaker, and Ben is this wild writer that had this idea in his head for the longest time. And they're both together, and they complement each other so well that it was really fun to be able to go to work and have full trust in the people that are leading this driving this vehicle that we're all in. I did a musical comedy with Topher Grace and Taye Diggs and Anne Heche and J.C. Chazé, and that's a really, really fun movie. Very, very different than Hand of God. Obviously, we're not a musical comedy yet. And that hopefully will come out soon. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like Pitch Perfect in the vibe of it, only all the songs are mostly from the 80s and 90s. They're all one-hit wonders. So only people who really, really know music will not only, but they will really, really get a kick out of it. We have a lot of comedians there. And then a movie that I did called Modern Love that deals with same-sex marriage, and I really believe in this movie. I think it's very relevant and heartfelt, and it couldn't be more of the times.
Well, he's Judge Harris. He's from generations of wealth and privilege. He's a judge, so he's kind of a powerful center in the community, and he's enjoyed a lifetime of winning. He knows how to win like nobody else, except when we find him, his son is on life support, having shot himself in the head. and he's losing for the first time in his life. So he begins to break down. He begins to sort of desperately grab at things to give him the impression that he's going to win somehow, to make him feel like he has a shot at winning. And he finds God, and he gets reborn, and then he starts hearing voices, and then he starts acting on the voices, and he turns into a rather weird, desperate character. What the show does is it looks inward, and it asks you to ask a lot of questions about, if you were in a certain set of circumstances, how would you handle it? What would you do? What would you be capable of? How would that change your value system? You know, who would you become in light of certain things? And the show actually asks more questions than it answers. So, I mean, you know, Purnell is a guy who thinks he knows everything and finds out that there's a world of things that he's not prepared for, that he's not equipped for. So watching him grapple with all this right in front of the eyes of the audience for the very first time in his life is kind of the dramatic center of the show, and maybe what makes it worth watching, maybe what makes it compelling. But the show deals with a lot of big themes. Power, wealth, the loss thereof, loyalty, marriage, infidelity, and faith. It deals with faith in a very big way. I mean, Marc Forester's never done television before, and when you look at these two episodes he directed, he kind of still hasn't, because they look like movies. Because of his involvement, we were able to pick from the creme de la creme in Hollywood for the whole cast. Everybody wanted to work with Marc. I was at the front of that list, and it's just a privilege to be able to work with. And watching Ben, who's never really run his own show before, you know, give birth to this thing and then watch a whole army of people get behind it, that's been a privilege as well. Well, chemistry is about basking in the other person's glow. And in the case of this cast, across the board, from top to bottom, it's very easy to bask in their glow. My job is to just watch what they're doing and listen to them and reflect off of them. And, you know, I like your T-shirt, bro.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. You've spoken very passionately about your desire to make the third Hellboy film that we all want and feel we deserve. Do you have any news for fans about how that fight is going?
I'm leaving it alone for the moment. I stirred up a hornet's nest with it, and now it's time to celebrate Hand of God for a while.
Do you have a message to fans before you leave us?
Love you guys.